Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 55 of the World of Sports podcast. I am your host, Diego Sandoval, and joined with me, as always, is my co-host, Logan Ring. Logan, say what's up to the people.
What's up, everybody?
We've got a great episode in store. We are entering the great month of October, where all three sports that we talk about on this podcast are playing games at the same time. NBA hasn't, quite entered the quote unquote real games, but they are playing preseason games. But it's always great to see baseball, basketball, and football all playing at once. It almost, I don't even know, as a sports fan, you love it. So we're talking about all three sports today. We're going to give our NFL Week 5 picks, predictions, and we're going to go over to the MLB. Right now, it is the divisional series of the playoffs. It is Saturday, October 9th. So if you're listening to this afterwards, just know that that's where we are in the series. Got a lot of stuff to talk about there. Some great series, some great matchups. And then we're going to close off with some just NBA preseason news, takeaways, overreactions, because we're going to talk about it later, but it's the preseason. So, you take everything with a grain of salt. But yeah, before we get into it, follow us on all of our social medias. Head over to Instagram at TWOS podcast. The link in the bio will have all the links you will need to follow us anywhere. And also, if you follow us on Instagram, we have a lot more extra content kind of that's not said on the podcast, ranking, stuff like that, which we're definitely going to be doing heading into the NBA season. I believe next week is the last episode before the start of the NBA regular season. So we're going to do a lot of predictions, picks, rankings. That'll be a more NBA focused episode. So looking forward to that. But for now, it's going to be pretty even across all three sports. Let's kick it off with the NFL. If you do follow us on Instagram, you saw that we both picked the Rams to beat the Seahawks last week or this week, a couple days ago. And that happened. So we are both 1-0 on the week. Overall, we still have the same record, but they're both good records. I'm trying to remember what they are. It was 34-14 after week 3. I have to go back and look, but I think we both went like 11-5 last week, I believe. So, we're doing all right. We are. Let's see, where is this? Here it is. No, it's not.
46-19. I guess
46 and 15.
Now.
We're each 46 and 15 is what I see.
All right. Well, it's a good record either way.
Yeah, that's actually very good. So, and last week was a down week. We both went 11-5. So, hoping to bounce back, I guess. But maybe we'll have some different picks so that we end up one person ends up pulling away from each other. Let's start it off with the game that is taking place in London this week, and that is the New York Jets taking on the Atlanta Falcons. I have the upset in this week. I have the Jets winning their second straight game against the Atlanta Falcons. Zach Wilson impressed me last week. I don't know. These are two bad teams, so it really could go either way.
Yeah. Somehow I'm also picking the Jets. We're both picking the Jets in the same week. That's insane. But yeah, the Falcons have been super disappointing. I didn't think they were going to be great, but their defense has been atrocious. And the Jets beat the Titans. I mean, that's not a bad team. But yeah, both bad teams. I'm sorry, London, that this is the game you get, but I guess we have to watch it. So.
Oh, I'm not going to watch it. It starts at 6:30 a.m. I'm good.
I guess they got to watch
it. Moving on to a better game. Couple of good teams actually this year. The Packers taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals surprise 3-1 team to most people. They've looked good, but the Packers have looked better in my opinion, and I think they're just a better team.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, after week 1, the Packers looked horrible, and then since then they've looked amazing. The way that we thought they were going to look.
Right.
The Bengals 3-1, like you said, that's pretty good. I mean, nobody really expected them to be that good, but I don't think they're at the level of the Packers yet. So yeah, Aaron Rodgers is going to come out and probably do his thing.
Yeah. Moving on. We have the 1-3 Vikings taking on the 0-4 Lions. The Vikings are one of the best 1-3 teams, I think, I think they're a lot better than people are giving them credit for. You look at the games they played, 14-7 against the Browns last week. That's a really good game against a tough team. They beat the Seahawks. They basically beat the Cardinals, but the Cardinals had a game-winning field goal on them. And then they lost by a field goal to the Bengals in week 1. So this is a very good team that isn't getting a lot of credit because they're 1-3. And the Lions are the Lions. So I'm going to go with the Vikings.
Yeah, I totally agree. I got the Vikings too. And I mean, from the Lions point of view, like, they lost last week or was it 2 weeks ago with that field goal? But other than that, they've been awful. So, I mean, I'm picking the Vikings. I think they're a lot better than 1-3.
Yeah. Moving on to a couple of teams that have been interesting this year. The Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Denver Broncos. The Broncos, they're 3-1, but you got to look at the teams that they beat. I guess now the teams that they beat have won a game, but at the first 3 weeks, the teams they beat were combined 0-9. So that's not the most impressive resume of victories for Denver. But you look at the other side, and the Steelers' offense has been bad. Big Ben is not a very good quarterback anymore. That being said, I'm going with the upset, and I'm taking the Steelers. There's question marks at quarterback for the Broncos. They don't really, if it's Drew Lock, I think this is even more of a safe pick for me, but it might be Teddy Bridgewater. I don't think it's been confirmed yet, but I've got the Steelers.
Yeah, I got the Broncos in this one. And I mean, maybe some of my Steelers hate is coming out, but I just don't believe in this team at all. And Big Ben, like you said, he's just been so terrible this year. And I mean, he's old. He's not getting a ton of help, but like, he's not really setting people up for success. Their defense is good still. So, I mean, they're not a bad team. I mean, they're 1-3, but like, I don't know, they probably shouldn't be. But yeah, I got the Broncos in this one. Surprising that that's like what people are actually picking, that the Steelers winning is an upset, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, as of right now, Teddy Bridgewater still needs to clear his final concussion protocol. So we will see. When Drew Lock took over last week, that team was not good. So we'll see what happens. I've got the Steelers, you've got the Broncos. Great to see a difference here. This game, I don't think we're going to see a difference, but it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Miami Dolphins. Since Jacoby Brissett has taken over, and really this whole season, the Dolphins have not lived up to expectations. And the Buccaneers, I don't think are as good as they were last year, but I think they're better than the Dolphins this year by a long shot. So I got the Bucs.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it's a pretty safe pick. It's kind of a lock for this week, but yeah, I just don't see the Bucs losing this one.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, this is a pretty safe lock out of all the matchups this week. Moving on to a game that is between two teams that I can't figure out if they're good or bad. Most people really can't. It's the Washington football team versus the New Orleans Saints. What is the deal with these teams? The Saints, we know their defense is good, but is Jameis Winston an average quarterback, or is he a very bad quarterback? I don't know. And then the Washington football team, their offense has been really good, but their defense that was supposed to be like top 5 going into the season has been the worst in the NFL. So it's really tough to just rank either of these teams, because I would say the football team definitely had bigger expectations going into the season, especially the Saints, first year without Drew Brees, nobody really expected them to do much. But just this path the football team has taken is so weird, because they have so many young guys on that defensive side. It just figured, oh, they're going to keep getting better, but it just hasn't worked out this year. So but that's the same to say about the Saints. Nobody knows how good either of these teams are.
Yeah, I mean, I got the Saints in this one, but this is probably the team that I hate picking the most, just because it can go either way. Like, I really can't predict them at all. Like you said, Jameis Winston, we don't even know what he's going to do. He's had great games and he's had absolutely terrible games. So this is a really hard one. The Washington football team is not helping me pick either, because they're up and down too. But yeah, I predict that Jameis Winston's going to have a good one, since Washington's defense has been terrible, which is weird to say, but that's what's happening so far.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the football team. I don't know. I've felt like I've had this confidence in them all season. That's definitely not warranted, and that I think that comes with just my confidence in them in the preseason. That's just like carrying over, even though it definitely shouldn't. So this might be a bad pick, but I'm gonna go with the football team. But you said it. It's just impossible to like predict how these teams are gonna do week in and week out.
I like that we're split though.
Yeah. Moving on to the surprise Carolina Panthers and the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, since week 1 against the Falcons, when the Eagles just stomped on them and everyone thought, oh my God, they're going to be so good this year. They haven't done much, really. On the other side, the Panthers most definitely have. Sam Darnold is looking like the newest, I think I said this in the last podcast, but he's the newest example to why the Jets are just a terrible franchise. And Adam Gase was a terrible coach. But the Panthers have unlocked Sam Darnold. And I like what I've seen from the Panthers, and that defense is very good too. They just traded for Stephon Gilmore, by the way. I forgot about that. They traded a 6th round pick for one of the best, if not the best, cornerbacks in the league. Because Bill Belichick didn't want to cut him.
Yeah, I still don't understand trades in the NFL. It makes no sense to me that happened. But
so I don't know if Gilmore's playing this week, but still, I got the Panthers in this one.
Yeah, I got the Panthers too. I mean, they're 3-1, and the only game that they've lost to was the Cowboys. And I mean, the Cowboys, I think, are really good this year. So yeah, I think they're just a better team, and the Eagles have been really disappointing since week 1, like you said. So I'm going with Sam Darnold. I think he's going to have a good one. And I got the Panthers.
Moving on, this could also be a lock. I think it is the Titans. I have the Titans beating the Jaguars. Jaguars haven't looked good. Derrick Henry honestly could rush for 200 yards this week. Yeah, I've got Tennessee.
Yeah, I actually have a bold prediction for this one. I'll say later. But I still got the Titans in this one. I mean, I just don't think the Jaguars are a good team. And the Titans have been disappointing too. Like
100%. They lost to the Jets.
They lost to the Jets. I don't know how much worse you can get from that. I guess lose to the Jaguars, but yeah, I can't not pick them in this one.
Yeah. Moving on. Another game that could be a lock, but I don't know. I've got the Patriots beating the Texans. Bill Belichick, just in his coaching career, is notorious for exposing rookie quarterbacks. And that's exactly what Davis Mills is. He's a rookie quarterback that didn't expect to start at all this year. So I think Bill Belichick does his magic and they beat the Texans.
Yeah, I don't have a ton more to say. It's the Texans. I'm going to pick most teams over them. And I mean, if they were bad already and then they got more injured, that's just more of a reason to pick against them. But I mean, the Patriots are obviously really well coached. So yeah, I think they're going to do well against them.
Moving on, we have the Las Vegas Raiders taking on the Chicago Bears. Justin Fields making his second start. The Bears head coach announced that he is officially the starter. I mean, that's good. He gives them the best chance of winning, in my opinion. It's just coaching needs to figure it out and start play calling for Justin Fields, not for a guy who just sits in the pocket. The Raiders coming off a loss to the Chargers. It was just ugly in the first half. They got it going in the second half and made it kind of a game, which was surprising after how just bad it was in the first half. I still think the Raiders are a good team. We'll talk about it in the next game, but the Chargers are a very good team. I'm going to go with the Raiders over the Bears. I don't believe in this Bear. I believe in Justin Fields, but I don't believe in the Bears as a whole.
Yeah, I agree. I think Justin Fields has a lot of potential, and I think that he's being kind of set up for failure right now with coaching and play calling and whatever's happening, because I don't know what's going on in Chicago. But I mean, the first game he played, he got sacked like 12 times or 10 times or something.
It was like 9 or 10 or something.
Just like, you're not going to be able to do well if you're getting destroyed every single play. And then the game after that, I mean, he didn't play bad. It's just, I mean, he led them to a win against the Lions. It's just like, I feel like he's not getting used to like the best of his strengths. And I mean, the Raiders are a much better team in my opinion. So I'm picking them for the third week in a row now.
Yeah. Moving on to not the game of the week, in my opinion, but definitely one of them. The Cleveland Browns are heading to Los Angeles to take on the Chargers. What's your take on this game?
I mean, I'm going to go with the Brownies pretty much every week, but I think this is going to be a really, really good one. I do have question marks with Baker Mayfield. I think it was a partially torn labrum or something in his shoulder.
Yeah, in his left shoulder. So
yeah,
it's like
last game he didn't look good, and I think that was probably the reason for it, is because I mean he's having to favor that shoulder, and he was missing throws. I think he missed OBJ like 2 times for a touchdown. So that definitely is a question mark. And the Chargers, I mean, are a really good team. They beat the Chiefs. Like they're very, very talented. So I think this could be a shootout too. I don't think the defenses are bad, but like I just think the offenses could be really good. And I'm super excited for this one. Shout out to Dom. We'll see who gets the bragging rights after this one. But yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, this could be a shootout or a defensive showdown because the Chargers have a very good defense. The Browns have a very good defense. They both have very good offenses. You know, that Chargers run defense is a lot more suspect than their pass defense, which I think the Browns are going to expose. Yeah. But then again, the Chargers offense has looked lethal. Like Justin Herbert is doing his thing. I'm going to go with the Chargers in this one. I saw enough over the past 2 weeks taking down the Chiefs and the Raiders pretty handedly. I mean, the Chiefs wasn't handedly, but you know, they won both those games against two good Raiders were undefeated and the Chiefs are the Chiefs. So I like what I've seen from the Chargers. I also like what I see from the Browns. These are two teams that right now are on a playoff trajectory. So I think it's going to be a great game. I've got the Chargers.
Yeah, I think Myles Garrett is also questionable for that. So Browns are kind of banged up right now. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Baker Mayfield is definitely something to watch because, you know, the Browns are kind of downplaying it as, oh, it's his non-throwing arm. So it's doesn't have that much of effect, but
it does.
If you have a torn muscle anywhere in your body, like no matter how little you use it, it's going to have an effect when it comes to, you know, he's not going to want to get hit. He's going to want to try to get the ball away, stuff like that. So we shall see. Moving on to an NFC East matchup, the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants. You said it earlier. I'll take it that I completely underestimated the Cowboys this year. I honestly don't think anybody expected their defense to be this good. Their offense, I think everyone kind of knew was pretty high powered. It was just the defense that was lacking, but they're putting it together this year and they looked like a very good team. So I'm going to go with the Cowboys. The Giants coming off a win against, again, the Saints, who we don't know if they were good or not. Saquon Barkley looks like Saquon Barkley again, which is great to see. He had a great game last week. But I'm going to go with the Cowboys.
Yeah, same. I think I've picked the Cowboys the last 4 weeks, but I mean, there's a reason for that. They're really impressing me, and I think they're going to do it again. I really like what Dak Prescott's doing. But yeah, I think the Giants are at least not as much of a joke anymore if Saquon comes back and he's actually good. So it's at least a game to look at.
Yeah. Another divisional matchup between two NFC West teams, the Arizona Cardinals and the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, are the Cardinals the best team in the NFL? Because
they might be.
They're playing like it. They just took down the Rams pretty dominantly. I mean, it wasn't that close of a game. I'm blanking on the score, but it was 37-20. Like that's not a very close football game. The Cardinals have just looked really good. Kyler Murray is the front runner for MVP, I would say right now, although our pick Josh Allen is right there as well with what he's done the past couple of weeks, just blowing teams out by 30. Niners, Trey Lance is starting, so that's exciting for 49er fans. But rookie quarterback, we don't know how he's going to work with Shanahan in that offense. I'm going to go with the Cardinals.
Yeah, I feel like that's sort of safe pick too. Last undefeated team in the NFL. I think it stays this way. I am excited to see the rookie quarterback. I mean, he's gonna go against a really hard team to play against. So we'll see what happens, but I just don't think you can pick against the Cardinals in this one. I mean, they just beat the Rams. So like, it's gonna be tough.
That quarterback matchup is going to be great to watch. It's going to be exciting because Trey Lance is Kyler Murray if Kyler Murray were able to truck people. So that will be very fun. They are both going to be running around the field. But yeah, game of the week, in my opinion, comes on Sunday night. The Buffalo Bills taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. In many people's minds at the beginning of the season, they were the two favorites in the AFC. Let me hear what you got.
I mean, I got the Chiefs again. I understand that they've been pretty disappointing so far. I mean, they're 2-2 now, but they were 1-2 in the first 3 weeks and they barely beat the Browns. So I understand that hesitancy. You could totally go with the Bills here. I mean, it's going to be a really, really close one in my opinion. But I don't see a team this good just losing again. And it definitely could happen, but I just feel like they're going to, having to go against such a good team, they might have to just play up to that. And I think that they will. Patrick Mahomes isn't someone to just like back down from that. I think they're the same team. I don't think that they're what their record shows, but I got the Chiefs.
I've got the Bills in this one. And I think the Chiefs have kind of shown that if you can out torch them, you will beat them. Like that, their defense isn't going to stop you. And the Bills have shown that they will absolutely obliterate teams on the offensive side of the ball. They've scored 35 plus points the last 3 weeks, 40 plus in the last 2 weeks. That's very good. There's a possibility that this game sees both teams scoring 35 plus points. Like neither defense is stopping either offense. And I just think right now the Bills defense is a little bit better than the Chiefs defense, that they can maybe force one turnover and that'll be the game. I think that's what it could come down to. Whoever turns the ball over. But like you said, this is gonna pretty much determine what the Chiefs are this year. I think this week, if they can't beat a high-powered team, that's not very good. Like they're gonna have to beat these teams to be considered, still the top dogs. So it's gonna be a good game. I've got the Bills, you've got the Chiefs. Should be a fun one. Moving on to the Monday Night Football game. Much less exciting than the Sunday Night Football game, in my opinion. The Baltimore Ravens taking on the Indianapolis Colts. Colts got their first win last week, as we both predicted, just because the Dolphins haven't been very good. The Ravens, on the other hand, I just think they're the better team on both sides of the ball. So I'm going to go with the Ravens in this one.
Yeah, I don't have a ton more to add. I got the Ravens too. I agree. I think they're the better team, and I just don't expect the Colts to get a win against a team that good this year. So,
yeah. Moving on to our bold predictions. I have a bold prediction about the New York Jets quarterback, Zach Wilson. He had a very good game last week, albeit against a bad Tennessee defense, but he's playing a bad Atlanta defense this week. I think he throws for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. Those are both career highs for Zach Wilson 5 weeks into the season. But I think the kid from BYU has a great game.
It's pretty funny. I have a very similar prediction. It's for a different player, but I have Trevor Lawrence having a breakout game, still not winning, but having a breakout game with 2 touchdowns and 300 yards. He hasn't really shown that so far, but I mean, we know how talented he is. He hasn't figured it out yet, but I feel like it's got to come at some point. So I'm predicting this week.
Hey, Trevor Lawrence had 303 touchdowns in week 1. There were 3 interceptions, but that's okay. That was my bold prediction week 1, and it hit, but it still wasn't a good game, which was funny. But anyways, my second bold prediction is that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will force 2 or more turnovers on the Miami Dolphins. Like I said, this Bucs defense isn't the same as it's been or as it was last year. But I think that they still have the talent that I feel like it's only a matter of time until they put it together again. And I think this week is a perfect opportunity against Jacoby Brissett and the Dolphins. So I think the Bucks have 2+ turnovers in week 5.
We kind of talked about this before. Might be a little bit boring, but I got the Chiefs and Bills both scoring 30+. I mean, we talked about how great their offenses are. And then, I mean, I don't think either of them are going to get stopped at all. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a shootout for sure. I'm excited.
How awesome would it be if we saw a football game? If it was going to be any game, it would be this Sunday night game, Bills Chiefs. If we saw a football game where the team scored every single drive, like field goal or touchdown, like can you just imagine if a team never punted or like got stopped?
It's like college.
Yeah, it'd be like college football, which would be sick. But yeah, those are our week 5 picks and predictions. Going to be a good week. There are a lot of good matchups this week. Chargers, Browns, Bills, Chiefs, Cardinals, Niners. Plenty of football team versus Saints if you're a fan of teams that have zero identity. But yeah, it's going to be a good week in the NFL. Moving on to the sport that's kind of, at its peak right now, and that is the MLB. It is the division series right now. So Saturday, October 9th, we have the 2 ALDSs. We have the Red Sox versus the Rays and the White Sox versus the Astros. Over in the NLDS, we have the Brewers versus the Braves and the Dodgers versus the Giants. Starting in the ALDS, just because those series have already played 2 games, we'll start with the Astros White Sox. I mean, this Astros offense just doesn't care how good your pitching is. They're just going to keep hitting.
Yeah. And I mean, it's really impressive. Like, you got to give them credit for what they do. They've been really good. Pitching too. I mean, the White Sox offense is amazing, and they've not shut them down, but limited them a lot. And I mean, I'm just kind of disappointed in the White Sox because this year they were supposed to be so good. And I mean, they were, but honestly, I do think they were a little disappointing. And against 500 teams, or teams above 500, I should say, they've been like really bad. So, I mean, I feel like this is kind of telling for them. Down 2-0 to the Astros, like that's going to be tough to come back from. But yeah, their high-powered offense has not been great so far, and I mean their pitching has been pretty bad too. The Astros have just kind of dominated.
Yeah, I came into this postseason and really the beginning of the regular season thinking that the White Sox pitching could carry them. And I mean, you look at their staff, and when fully healthy, Lance Lynn, Lucas Giolito, Carlos Rodon, those guys are Cy Young candidates, all of them. And I thought, games 1 and 2 was Lance Lynn and Lucas Giolito. And the Astros just hit them like they were not that good of pitchers. Like, it's not even like the White Sox are pitching poorly. It's that this Astros offense is so good that they're going to hit anybody.
Yeah.
Like, they have the capability to hit any pitch, anything. But I don't know. Disappointing from the White Sox. My American League champion. Again, the series isn't over, but it's looking like it.
Yeah. I mean, if it makes you feel any better, at least your AL champion made it past the wild card round. But yeah, I do want to give a quick shout out to Yordan Alvarez. Why does this man not get any credit for what he does? He's like one of the best players in the league, and I think he's like 24.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why he's not in the same conversation as, I mean, I know he doesn't play defense, but like, I don't think he's as good, but in the same conversation as a guy like, I don't know, Juan Soto and the young group of guys that are coming up, I feel like he should be included in that. But yeah, I mean, the Astros have been great. Got to give them credit.
Yeah. Came from the Dodgers farm system. Pain. But yeah, he's been great. Yuli Gurriel won the AL batting crown with nobody caring. So that's also
I've heard nothing about
that. Moving on, I think it's safe to say that the Astros are going to win this series just because there's nothing that has shown otherwise.
Yeah.
To the other side, though, the Tampa Bay Rays and the Boston Red Sox, who beat the Yankees in the wild card round. I mean, like, this is the perfect matchup, in my opinion, of pitching versus hitting, because the Rays are a very pitching focused team. They had the best team ERA in the league. this year. And I think we kind of saw that in games 1 and 2. We saw the pitching and then we saw the hitting. In game 1, the Rays pretty much dominated the Red Sox, beat them 5-0. And then in game 2, the Red Sox put up 14 runs on 20 hits. I don't know if that's happened to the Rays this season.
I doubt it.
Like, I mean, I have the Rays winning this series. I think I didn't put it down, but I think I remember thinking either 4 or 5 games. But I mean, it's basically whoever you think is going to win this series dictates if you think offense is more important or pitching is more important.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, the Red Sox showed how good they are last game. If you're putting up 14 runs against the Rays, then you got a really good offense. And 20 hits, like that's not just like, you have to be very talented to put up 20 hits against this team. And I think they put in like 10 pitchers or something. They were hitting everyone. So yeah, it's really impressive. I really like this series because I mean the Rays have been like so good this entire year, and I feel like they're getting credit, but also like this is a real challenge for them to go against an offense like this. I don't know if I would have rather had the Yankees or the Red Sox in this just for matchup wise, but I think this is really fun and I think it'll be close. I still have the Rays in it, but yeah, I like it.
Yeah, should be interesting how the shift to Boston plays, because we know Tampa doesn't get the best home field advantage. It's just a bad situation there.
It's really bad.
They're going to be on their way out, kind of. They're going to play half their home games in Montreal, I think, starting next year or 2 years from now. But Wander Franco, he's an absolute phenom and going to win MVP in this league probably sooner rather than later. I mean, this guy just hits. Like, he hits and then he's a Gold Glove level fielder. Like he's everything. He is the crown jewel of the Tampa Bay Rays. Historically, they just trade for young talent, but he's their one kind of farm, homegrown guy, and
yeah,
he's showing why he is.
And the quote unquote rookie Randy Arozarena, who's been in the league for 8 years. I mean, he's back in playoff mode again. He's
October Randy.
He's still home. He hit a home run. He's doing all the things. I mean, we saw what happened last year, so that's exciting to watch too. I like those two guys.
Yeah. Shifting over to the NLDS, the Braves Brewers series, I think honestly could amass a total amount of runs less than the amount of runs the Red Sox scored yesterday, because these two, the Brewers are obviously probably, it's the Brewers, Dodgers, and White Sox, I'm pretty sure, and the Rays, but like the best pitching staffs in baseball. The Brewers have 3 guys who are going to finish in the top 10 in Cy Young voting, and that's ridiculous. They held the Braves to 1 run. We both had the Brewers winning this series, and I think the pitching is just going to keep carrying them. Like, it's going to get to a point, and I think it's going to be the NLCS where that offense needs to start doing something, but it doesn't look like they're going to have to against the Braves.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, Milwaukee's pitching is just so good that their offense can kind of be mediocre, and I mean, they put up 2 runs last game, and that was enough to get the win. I think it'll be close still. I mean, I think the Braves offense is good enough where they can at least pose a challenge, but I just think that pitching is too good. And those 3 guys, I mean, you can just keep them in the rotation, and that's all you really need. Corbin Burns shoved last game, 6 innings, scoreless, only 2 hits. I mean, if they do that, they're going to win.
The Braves aren't going to do much when Jorge Soler, Freddie Freeman, Ozzie Albies, Austin Riley, and Adam Duvall only have 1 hit. And it was Austin Riley, a single. The Brewers just pitching is so they can line up 3 starters that I think would let them sweep this series. Like, Burns already did his. Woodruff is pitching today in like an hour and a half, and then I'm pretty sure it would be Peralta game 3. So I don't know. This Brewers pitching staff is lethal in a 5-game series where you just have to win 3 games.
Yep.
Moving on to the matchup everybody wanted to see. I think probably the most exciting matchup in this divisional series, and that is the Dodgers Giants, the rivalry. Also, it is the first time they ever faced each other, even if they were in New York, because apparently the shot heard around the world when the Giants won the pennant was back when like playoffs were, it was like only the World Series for the playoffs. So that game was like a tiebreaker because they ended the season tied. And so it was like a game 163 to win the National League, because just that's how baseball worked. So it wasn't technically the playoffs. It was just to win,
right,
to go to the World Series, which is weird to say. But I mean, this is one of the most storied rivalries in baseball. It's up there with the Red Sox Yankees. That's kind of biased coming from a Dodger fan, but it's a great rivalry. Giants took game 1 4-0. The Dodgers couldn't hit water if they fell off of a boat. It was bad. Like, they didn't do anything offensively. They weren't able to string together hits. They almost got a run across in the first inning, but Logan Webb kicked the ball off his cleat. That was nice. I don't know. I still have the Dodgers winning in 5, but I mean, Logan Webb, just shout out Logan Webb. He balled out.
Yeah, I mean, the Dodgers have kind of had games like this or stretches like this where their offense just doesn't really do a lot. But I mean, I have to still predict that they're going to show up. I mean, if it's a 5-game series, I wouldn't be surprised. But I still got the Dodgers winning it. But I mean, the Giants need respect for what they've been doing. They're not a bad team that just has a great record. They're an amazing team. And Logan Webb came out 7.2 innings, 10 strikeouts, no runs against the Dodgers. That's really impressive. I mean, the Giants offense is also showing up. Buster Posey somehow hit a home run into McCovey Cove for no reason against Walker Buehler.
He hit 96 up at his shoulders. He took that out there. That was crazy.
And I mean, they could hit Walker Buehler, who you've said before is like one of the best postseason pitchers so far. And I mean, he's still young, but he's got a really good resume. I mean, it's still really impressive what they're doing. So I'm going to definitely watch all the games in this series. It's really fun.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Yeah. I mean, being a Dodgers fan, I've watched pretty much every regular season game, as many as I could. And I definitely followed it and, checked the scores after every single game. But this team has gotten into stretches where the offense will score 2-3 runs a game, less. But since the pitching was so good throughout the regular season, it was fine. Like, it didn't affect them. Like, they would win games 2-0, 3-1. But we're in the playoffs where that's not going to fly. Like, you have to be able to score runs, especially against a team like the Giants. It's going to put up runs. I just hope that they're not in one of those stretches. I mean, the wild card game, they didn't hit well. Like, it was Justin Turner and Chris Taylor hit home runs. Like, that's what happened for the Dodgers.
Yeah.
So, I'm hoping that they're not in a slump right now, because it's the worst time to be in a slump. But we shall see. Only time will tell.
Yeah. The pitching matchup today is Julio Urias and Kevin Gausman. That's going to be really good.
It's going to be good because Gausman had a phenomenal breakout season, and the Dodgers just don't seem to lose when Julio is pitching.
Yeah.
He's the only 20-game winner in the MLB. So we'll see. Dodgers don't have Kershaw, so they don't have that pitching depth. I don't know if Scherzer's going to be available for game 3. I'm imagining he will be. That would be on Monday in LA. So Scherzer is also, the Dodgers have also never lost a Scherzer start in LA. So we'll see. Should be a fun divisional series. The outlook on that series, I still have Dodgers in 5, and I think you have Dodgers in 4, 5.
I'll take them in 5. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's almost disrespectful to say the Giants won't win 2 games. So you kind of have to give it to them.
But I think the Giants still have a pretty good chance of winning this too.
Oh, absolutely.
They've got to win 2 games. in 4. I mean, that's
yeah. I'm just saying, like, if you were to predict the Dodgers, I feel like you can't like say, they're gonna sweep. Like, obviously they're not gonna sweep, but like before the series, I saw a bunch of people saying Dodgers in 3, and it's like Dodger fans are such casuals. It makes me mad because like I don't
I
know.
have such a love-hate relationship with the Dodgers because like I am a fan of them. I mean, they are like my home team. Obviously, I'm an Indians fan, but it's like when Dodgers fans do the
You
annoying
have to
thing.
you have to start referring to them as Guardians.
Oh my God, yeah, that's true. The Indians have played their last game, so yes, I'm a Guardians fan. But like, I love to see the Dodgers win, but also Dodgers fans getting just like shut up and like losing at least something, just sometimes,
Dodger
just to
fans
put them in their place.
Dodger fans have the best and worst fans in baseball.
Yeah,
like they're
exactly.
the diehard Dodger fans that know what they're talking about. They're fine because they know baseball and like that it's whatever. But the Dodger fans that are like the casuals that don't watch until the playoffs and like say that Kenley Jansen sucks because he blew a couple saves a couple years ago, like that's what gets on my nerves. But you know, I guess that could be said for pretty much every sports team. Like there's going to be fans who don't pay as much attention, therefore don't know what they're talking about. But I feel like Dodger fans are kind of to an extreme.
Yeah.
But anyways, should be fun. Moving on to our last little segment. There's not much to talk about in terms of the NBA preseason, but one thing we definitely want to talk about was Kyrie Irving. He's not vaccinated, and he's basically saying he's not going to get vaccinated. So the state of New York basically said, all right, you're not allowed to play in games in Brooklyn, which is, I mean, it's not like they're specifically targeting him. That's just straight up like the law.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and then, you know, in terms of away games, he's not going to be able to play in every single away game. It's going to depend on the state's law. Like,
yeah.
It's not like he's going to be, okay, he'll just be there for away games. Like that's not even confirmed. And it was just like announced that the Brooklyn Nets practice facility was deemed like a private organization or something. So he can practice there now. But dude, get vaccinated. This is not a good situation for anybody.
Yeah. It's just like Kyrie. I mean, he's so talented. I have so much love for Kyrie. He helped deliver a championship to Cleveland, but he just does things that like, yes, are very different. And I mean, he has like a mindset where it's like, just, I'm not just going to go with what everybody else does. Like I'm going to do my own thing. And yes, I understand that. I respect that to a certain degree, but something like this, it's just like, you know, his teammates are pissed at him. Like you want to get a championship with him. You want to like be the best you can be. And if you don't want to get vaccinated, you can't play like 46 of the games because you're going to be going to LA some of the time. And in the playoffs, you're not going to have your home games there either. You're not going to be able to play there. So it's causing like inner turmoil in the team for zero reason. And like KD had to speak about it and he said all the right things. He's like, he's a grown man. He can make his own decisions, but there is no way that he's not at least a little angry with Kyrie that he can't just do this. Like they went to Brooklyn together to get a championship. Everybody else is on board with this. And I understand that some people are hesitant to get the vaccine. Like it's somehow political now, which is a whole different topic that I'm not going to get into. But like, man, just do research that is real research and just go from there, man. Like I don't have anything else to say. Just get vaccinated.
At this point, there's no positive repercussions are coming of it. Maybe at the beginning when you weren't being like disciplined for it, okay, do what you want to do. But you are losing game checks. Your team is going to start losing games because of it. Like, this is your job. Like
yeah.
I don't know. And this, if this ends up carrying into the regular season, which I mean, we're 2 weeks away basically, and he reportedly is not vaccinated at all. It takes like a month to get fully vaccinated. Like, I don't know what's going to happen, but if Kyrie's not available to be in the season, and some other stuff happens, this Nets team is a lot different than we're going to, we've been predicting this offseason.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not like the Nets are still not going to be an amazing team, but Kyrie is a very big part of that team, both on and off the court. And if you're going to be doing that, it's going to cause like tension within the team too. And he already did that last year. Like he has been a guy who brings a lot of drama into the locker room. And I still like Kyrie, but he does do that. You can't deny it. So it's a situation to keep looking at because, yeah, I think at this point, there's no way he starts the season. Like, I don't think there's any way that happens.
I mean, yeah, and it's unfortunate because when he's at his peak, he's a top 15, top 20 player in the NBA. Like, it's bottom line, it's he can do what he wants, but he's got to realize that he's hurting everyone around him more than he's like supposedly, helping them. So I don't know. That's the biggest piece of news from preseason. I know you had said you wanted to talk about like just the fact that people overreact to the preseason.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, you can say it about every single year, but it's like Russell Westbrook played like 8 minutes in the first quarter or something and had like a bunch of turnovers and stuff. And people are like, oh, look how bad the fit is and whatever. Just like let the season roll out. I bet he's not going to do well at the start of the season. I bet a ton of people on new teams aren't going to do well at the start of the season. And that doesn't mean his fit is just going to be bad. But I mean, you can say that about literally everything. I was excited to see them play together. It was really weird seeing Russell Westbrook in a Lakers jersey. You've been seeing it in like Photoshops for like 10 years, but it actually happening, him playing with LeBron James. I'm not going to lie. I mean, it looked weird and the fit was weird to start, but like there's zero way that was going to be a seamless transition. Like when LeBron went to Miami, they were like 500 in the first 16 games, and LeBron and Dwayne Wade don't really fit well together. So like, I mean, it still worked out.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Like, hey, don't be surprised, and I'm honestly expecting it if the Lakers start this season 5-5, 6-6, and people start all the, oh my God, they made the wrong moves, and then they'll go on some crazy streak, and then they'll end up being a top team in the West. Like,
yeah,
with the amount of new players that are on that team, it's not going to go well the first 2 weeks of the season, just because that's not how basketball and sports work.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm fully expecting the Lakers to be a quote unquote disappointment to start the year and then just figure it out along the way. There's too much talent on that team for them not to.
And there's like 3 people there from last year. Like,
yeah,
it's not going to happen right away. So yeah, I don't know what else to say about the preseason. I mean, it's the preseason for a reason. You're not going to be able to make like big judgments from it. But I'm really excited for this season. I mean, all the teams are like, there's not this clear favorite like it was a few years ago. You got the Nets, but I mean, the Kyrie situation, who knows what's going to happen. So we'll see. Ben Simmons, that's been talked about for the last friggin' 3 years or something. I don't know. This whole offseason, I don't need to talk about that. There's nothing new to say. But yeah, I'm excited for the rookies too. The Rockets are a team I did want to talk about. They're just exciting. I don't think they're going to be good at all, but that backcourt of Kevin Porter Jr. and Jalen Green, it's going to be really fun. So yeah, I'm excited.
Like that.
Yeah, it's a young team.
Yeah. Don't forget about the Bucks either. The Bucks just won the NBA Finals, and they have the whole team back basically. Like that's they're going to be very good again. So, but
got
yeah,
Grayson Allen too.
And he'll trip some people. In terms of preseason, don't overreact to anything. That goes with players playing poorly and also players playing really well. Like Dwight Howard put up 24 and 12 with like 3 blocks last night. I'm not expecting that in the regular season. Dwight Howard played like 3 full quarters that game. Like he's going to do that if that happens, but he's not. Yeah. That's not what's going to happen in the regular season.
Is DeAndre Jordan the starter for the Lakers? Is that what they've decided on?
I think they're still deciding if AD is going to play the 5.
Right.
Because it would be AD, LeBron, Melo, Westbrook, and any of those shooters.
I really like Malik Monk on that team.
Malik Monk also
getting some
played
credit
well
now.
The other night. So should be interesting. Predictions for NBA are next week because it's our last episode before the regular season. Very excited for that. But yeah, it was a very good episode. We talked about all 3 sports, a pretty good amount, which is great. Thank you so much for listening. If you listened this far, go ahead and comment. They should comment. What should they comment?
What's a baseball thing they can say?
You can
Give your
say
like Giants Dodgers predictions.
yeah, do that. But yeah, it's been a good one. And anyways, this has been the World of Sports podcast. And for my co-host Logan Ring, my name is Diego Sandoval, signing off.
Signing off.